every once in a while, Netflix puts out like a movie by like an auteur just to kind of be like, no, but look, like we work with Martin Scorsese or whatever. And obviously those movies look good because like those are people who care, But I don't know, like these other big ones, like, yeah, it's all kind of lifeless.
Welcome to the channel. And today we have Josh Heaps. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah.
Director of Citywide Fever. Awesome. Thank you for coming, George.
Thanks, man. I'm so glad you're doing this. It's so cool.
Yeah. So tell me about, like, how did you even get into cinema? What was your inspiration and so on?
Well, my grandpa, who passed away a couple years ago, grew up he was born in 1929, grew up in the 30s and the 40s, loving all those Universal horror movies. He would always tell me the first time he saw Dracula and Frankenstein, and then all the kind of classic Golden Age Hollywood movies, Howard Hawks, Billy Wilder, whatever. So I grew up being shown those by him quite a lot. I'd go to his apartment in Manhattan. I was living in Jersey or DC, but I'd go to his apartment when I was living in Jersey every month, and I'd spend the weekend with him. And he'd take me around to all the different theaters, Lincoln Plaza, which closed, and Angelica and IFC and all these cool places, and he would take me to the foreign films. And late at night, he'd make me ice cream floats, and we'd watch Casablanca, or How Green Was My Valley, or West Side Story, or Indiana Jones, kind of all the kind of cool movies that he thought that I would like. And we'd fast forward through a lot of the sex scenes when I was really young for like, yeah, well, my mom might watch this, so I won't say, but he showed me some movies that I probably shouldn't have seen. I remember watching Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with him, and he would fast forward when I was like 6 through all the sex scenes, which is funny. But so it was really through him. And then my mom is an artist, and so I always liked art a lot. And throughout high school, I'd go watch some art house movies, but I didn't really get back into cinema until I was an undergrad, when I didn't have a lot of friends. I lived in Austin, Texas, and I would just go by myself every week to kind of the local art house theaters and just watch whatever was playing there. And then when I was like 24 or 25, I went to grad school, and I was supposed to get my PhD in English literature. But one of my advisors was actually a film studies professor, and he was someone I got along with really well. And so I said, fuck it, why don't I just study film instead? And so for the next 3 years, I dropped out, but for the next like 3 years, I just watched 2, 3 movies a day, basically, like, and on top of reading all about film history and theory and criticism and whatever, but walking through all the big lists, the Sight and Sound Top 100 list, and then just going down rabbit holes and watching all like really strange things that I'd never heard of, So that's kind of like how I got into all this stuff and brought me to, I think, where I am today. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Going back to Citywide Fever, how did you and your DOP, was it Ethan?
Ethan.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you guys come up with the whole visual style of it? The camera movements,
Have you seen the movie?
palette.
It's okay
Yes,
if you haven't.
yes,
You did?
I have, yes.
Cool. But yeah, so I moved to New York. I dropped out of grad school, got a job in like a film PR company in 2022, where I got to work on all these cool art house movies and meet all these cool people. And I met Ethan at a party, and he and I got along. He's like a little quieter than me, but we hung out, and he had never really, maybe he'd worked on a feature before, but he hadn't, I don't think, shot a feature. And he was working a lot of reality TV stuff. And so I knew that like this was my chance to like get a really talented person, pay him very little, and make something cool. Because I don't think he was doing that really on the side, So we started Citywide Fever, and I knew I wanted to shoot on mini DV. So we shot that movie on the Sony PD-150, which Inland Empire was shot on, the David Lynch movie, and various early 2000 films when, folks were trying to figure out how to transition from film to digital. And you had these little handy cams, And now you can kind of see the past year, like on TikTok and stuff, like this 2000s look is getting very popular again. People really like this kind of gritty 480p, and I'm happy to say that I think Citywide Fever was a little before then. So I was looking to something that maybe hadn't happened yet. But also a good friend of mine, Mike, shot his movie Happy Life in like 2010, and he shot on the PD-150. The reason we shot on that camera, it's not that we didn't have access. I mean, Ethan owns like the Komodo, and like now he owns like the Venice too, and we could have rented other gear, but I knew I wanted the movie to stand out. I knew it was low budget, and I knew that if we shot on like very clean 4K, it just wouldn't get the attention and the kind of gritty quality that I was looking for. And I knew we couldn't afford 16 or 35, which is what all the movies I was looking towards, these old horror films, were shot on. So I was like, okay, it would be interesting to shoot an updated version of those with this kind of outdated technology.
So you just lean into the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was easy for me to do, but Ethan's the one who had to deal with like the headache of like how to light these cameras that don't have certain sensors, and that, how to digitize these movies. For Citywide Fever, we did not shoot to tape. We attempted to, but then we got a digitizer. But for this next project I'm doing that you worked on last weekend, we are shooting to tape. And that is going to be a slightly different process. But
I think you were shooting both, right? On the tape and on the ninja recorders.
And then Ethan had to buy like a cheap laptop because it only uses FireWire. It's crazy. I mean, it's also outdated. But anyway, the camera movements, though, I like to think that I had a lot of say in camera movement. And that was just ripping off these movies that I was like looking towards, I wanted a lot of crash zooms, a lot of, I don't think we used dollies or anything, but a lot of like kind of handheld in the street shaky stuff. But then when we were inside houses, slow creeping kind of atmospheric shots of I like to do kind of weird POV stuff, a lot of direct address. I mean, things that like stand out, very stylistic and formal stuff that like Tarantino loves to do, that kind of stuff. We were all looking at the kind of same movies. I don't think I ever want to shoot a movie that stylistic again. Also with the lighting, we like pumped in like the reds and the blues and the, what people call like A24 lighting now, it's like. And it was really fun. This next bigger project I'm doing that hopefully you're a part of in July, I'm very much pulling everything back. Basically like on sticks the whole time, very subdued, but definitely Citywide Fever, I wanted to go totally extra. And one more reason I'll say is because so many of the low budget movies that came out in the 2010s in New York were called like mumblecore movies. And they were like two people in a room talking about their relationships or whatever, and like, which is cool. But I was like, what if we take really low budget movies and instead of just doing like two people talking in a room, I try to do this huge, crazy horror film, Like there are a lot of misses in Citywide Fever and things I don't like about it, but I think the moments that I do like, we captured mood and like sleaze and like atmosphere really well,
Going back to the lighting, you mentioned the A24 lighting, and to be honest, like choosing between that and what they now call Netflix lighting, I would prefer A24.
Dude, absolutely.
Dude, all that washed out, like using the biggest source of light you can find, like those balloons that they use,
I know.
Filled with helium.
It looks awful.
And just wash out everything, no shadows. Yeah, it's not a good look.
I was just, because Devil Wears Prada 2 just came out, and I was watching, or some things on the internet, like comparing the look of 1 to 2. And it's really depressing, Because like when I was 20 years ago, but if I was, 20 years ago, if you had said to me, do you love the look of Devil Wears Prada? I probably would have said it looks very normal, but now it's like, oh, that looks awesome. You know what I mean? I'm curious I don't know, that was 2006. I'm curious if they shot that on digital. I have no idea. I'm not sure. But the new one, but it does look so garbage compared to it, And all the actors are like have so much more work done now too. It's really funny, but yeah, so that's definitely not something I'm interested in, like Netflix lighting, I just think the A24 lighting is like funny because like, You know, like but dude, I think like Euphoria, that's A24, right? I think so. Like Euphoria, the first season looks awesome, and like The Idol looks awesome, and it's like it's shot on 35 or 16 or something, and like, you know, you can like I can make fun of these big major indie studios, you know, I mean, because they do a lot of shilly stuff, but like, you know, some A24 movies look fucking awesome, like the horror ones, the early ones, and even ones now look cool, you know. So you know, as long as there's art house stuff being made, I think that's cool. I don't think that Netflix, I wouldn't call them art house, you know. You know, every once in a while, Netflix puts out like a movie by like an auteur just to kind of be like, no, but look, like we work with Martin Scorsese or whatever. And obviously those movies look good because like those are people who care, you know? But I don't know, like these other big ones, like, yeah, it's all kind of lifeless. But it's funny because, dude, like, I mean, I have this conversation with people a lot. I think like 5-6 years ago, there was this big fetishization of like understandable like 16 millimeter, you know? But now the past couple of years, there's been so many like handheld 16 millimeter indie films coming out, and I love that look. But I and a lot of my friends we're starting to get like a little like, all right, like it's getting a little like that movie Lurker that came out last year. Are you familiar with that movie? Or like, I don't know, like they look great, like, but I'm starting to get more into like my leaning into digital phase, you know? And I think there are some directors who do digital so beautifully. Obviously, like Fincher is one of them, or like, you know, I think Paul Schrader, who I work for, and like but he does digital in a really interesting way. And like, I think if you want to like portray like flatness, deadness, like, especially if you want to shoot a movie set in 2026, you should shoot digital, I think.
Totally. Yeah.
There are obviously reasons to shoot on film, and I would love to shoot a movie on film one day, you know?
You know, you can compromise. Like take Greg Fraser. That's one of my favorite
Which
DOPs. I'm talking about Greg Fraser. He's a DOP.
Okay.
He shot The Batman. He shot The Dune.
Okay.
And he recently shot Project Hail Mary.
Cool.
And when he did that, they shot digital, but then they printed it on film.
Yeah.
To get that, you know,
which was awesome.
Yeah, that's an awesome workaround. You know, you can shoot digital, then print it on film, and you get that, you know,
the grit, the grain.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like shooting on film now anyway, you're gonna digitize it no matter what.
Right.
But like, you know, it's funny. Like, I think people can get really experimental. Like Harmony Korine, I always never remember if it's Gummo or Julian Donkey Boy, but one of his early 2000s movies, he shot, I believe this is true, I think, on mini DV. He shot on like the PD-150 or something, converted it to 16 millimeter, and then redigitized it. Wow. So it has this crazy, and they just did a 4K of Gummo. So if it was Gummo, then it's like the craziest like looping of, but you know, I hate to say, like, I don't think that digital can mimic film, especially shooting like at night. There are certain things, but it can get pretty damn close. That being said, I've seen a lot of movies where people try to do film on digital and it looks fucking like garbage, you know? But digital can do really cool stuff. I actually just shot like a documentary using a lot of really cheap cameras. I used like this Minolta like Handycam, $99 I bought from D&H. I used this like Urban Outfitters sells them. These they're like cameras that are like this big, that are like on pocket keychains, you know? Right. And they look really interesting. Shooting on an iPhone. Dude, the new iPhone looks fucking unbelievable.
And it shoot ProRes, right?
Yeah, and it's insane, and you can like rack focus and like do all this crazy shit. And I also shot with like pen cameras, like secret spy cameras and pens. I think all that stuff can be really cool if you mix it all. You know, and the truth, Sean Baker, who shot like Tangerine on an iPhone, you know, he said this, but he's like, you know, the secret to shooting anything, and this is what Citywide Fever, like, I think why any of the like success, Citywide Fever's success it's gotten is because of the sound is really good. Like, if you can shoot on a fucking, like, dude, there's a movie at New York Film Festival last year called Dry Leaf that was shot on like an old Nokia flip phone.
Oh, wow.
And it's really beautiful, actually. It's very pixelated and very kind of like Picasso-esque and like, but the sound is great. You know, like an audience will watch terrible picture if the sound is good. But if you have 4K images, but the sound is garbage, people are going to turn it off, you know?
That's true.
Sound is so important.
That's true.
So, I mean, I've said to people, like, shoot on the shittiest fucking thing you want and it can look cool, but like make sure your sound mix is really strong because That's like so important, and
I feel
people
like
forget that.
I feel like that's the biggest mistake amateur filmmakers make. You know,
Yeah.
they overlook the sound and they don't budget for the sound.
Yeah.
And in the last moment, they scrap it for like, well, what are we going to do for sound? And
Yeah.
you know, it just sounds horrible.
Yeah.
And no matter how good your picture is, you know, people are not going to forget bad sound.
Dude, I would say Citywide Fever's budget, which was small, but not that small. I mean, it was tiny. But I think some people who I've talked to who maybe have never shot stuff, think it's smaller than it is. People will be like, oh, we shot that for like $3,000. And it's like, no, I didn't shoot that for $3,000. But, you know, I would say a third of our budget, a third probably went to the sound mix. Now, our sound guy was really expensive, very pro, very good. But it was great. You know, he has like a Dolby Studio and like Atmos. We went in and I spent 2 weeks and he had Foley editors abroad, and so like it was really special to be able to like bring that together, you know? Yeah.
Sorry, I have one more
please.
question
Yeah,
before we go too far from
Yeah.
Citywide Fever. One of my favorite scenes in the film was
When did you watch it? I didn't.
we went to that theater.
Oh fuck! I'm so sorry. You and Rosie went.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No worries.
In October or whatever.
Yeah. And there was a scene when the main character she gets into an Uber.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking.
Yeah, of course.
So my question is, was that scene scripted or was it? Yeah.
No, so that's a great comedian named Ian Fidance, who's pretty successful now. He's like one of the bigger New York comics, I would say.
Oh, what's his name?
Ian Fidance.
Okay.
Fidance. He's pretty famous. And I learned about who he was through a podcast I used to like, and then I reached out to him, and then he's really chill. And my movie played at the Alamo 2 weeks ago, and he did the Q&A for me, which was really sweet of him. But we went upstate and we rigged up the car, and basically we had like point A and point B, and he just drove back and forth for like an hour and a half. And I just told him to like be as disgusting as possible. And he really delivered, you know?
Yeah, he did.
It's like, I think that's everyone's favorite scene. It's like really horrendous, the things he says, you know? It's like so funny. But it's too bad because, you know, we have a Blu-ray of the movie that came out, Vinegar Syndrome. It's really sick, and we have these. I think like where the Blu-ray is weakest is in like the special features, because I was like, what do I put in the special features? Like, and I'm such an idiot. Like after we put out the Blu-ray, I was like, why did I not put any of the outtakes of Ian's talking? Because like we chose the best monologue, but there was still other incredible stuff that he said, and for some reason I completely forgot to do that. So maybe in 10 years, if there's some goated reissue, you know, maybe then I can drop the Ian Fidance tapes and he'll be canceled for what he says. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, since we're talking about Blu-rays right now, can you tell the audience where they can watch a film?
Yeah. So the Blu-ray you can buy from Factory 25 or Vinegar Syndrome. The movie will be streaming later this month. We got an exclusive streaming deal where it'll be streaming, and then it'll be on all the usual TVOD services for renting. But unfortunately, I can't say what the exclusive streaming deal is yet because we're still doing the paperwork. But I can tell you it's not Netflix.
Okay.
I wish, that'd be cool. It's a much smaller one. But it will be on, you'll be able to rent it for $2.99 or whatever from like a lot of the usual places. Yeah, but it's played, the movie's played mostly because of me reaching out to like various micro theaters around the world. It's played like 40 or 50 theaters. And I've been to only a few. I went to one in LA, I went to one in Toronto, I went to one in Chicago, and then on the 15th, and we're winding down. It's like this like streak of it playing because the movie's kind of finishing. It's May 15th, I go to Baltimore, and it'll be playing at a very cool venue there. I'm very excited for that. And then I think I'm going to kind of put it to bed because it's like I got everything I wanted out of it. Like it exceeded my expectations. Like all I ever wanted was a Blu-ray, and we got the Blu-ray. But now we have like a tomato. Like we got the 10 reviews for on. I got like a nationwide Alamo release. Like I got So I got a lot of like, it's still very small, obviously, and a lot of people don't like it, but that's okay. But like I got kind of like shocked at how much I got out of it. But also like I really worked hard on it. So I'm very thankful that I did get that, and so much of that is just like not relying on other people and like doing it yourself and doing everything yourself. I meet a lot of younger people who, apply to all the grants for money or the fellowships or, are always have a manager and have constant meetings for money with producers or production companies. And that's cool. And it works out every once in a while. But like when you meet someone who's approaching 30 who hasn't made something because they need $1 million to make their project, I'm kind of like, do something for under 100 grand, because it's very possible. Especially now, I have a lot of friends who are making features for $50,000. And yeah, they're not playing AMC, but there's like this underground like circuit you can go on of like indie cinemas and little festivals and like, and that's how you get there, and like at least you're making stuff,
And, I feel like indie cinema been doing pretty well, but now ever since Sean Baker got the Oscar for Anora, it's not a $50K film, it's a $6 million.
Yeah.
But still, we're talking non-union.
Yeah.
We're talking indie, that's kind of like opening eyes for people to see that you can do indie, you can do it cheaper, you don't have to spend 300 million, to be on the same level as, other Oscar winners.
Yeah, for sure. And like Sean Baker, even though some people like hate on Anora, like he's someone who like really has like, he like knows what indie is. I think his first movie, Takeout, from like 2002 or 3 or 4 or whatever, he shot for no money in like the streets of New York. And then he did like Starlit, and he has all these movies. Like a lot of people I think his like career started at like the Florida Project, but he has like 5 movies that he made throughout the 2010s for like under $300,000, or whatever. And he was like really grinding, and like he maintains that ethos, and he also watches like a lot of low budget movies, and so he's kind of tuned in. So he's awesome, man. And like, also like Josh Safdie or Benny Safdie, like, and of course they're making big movies now, but their early films were no budget, and like they made heaven knows what, like with Caleb Landry Jones, and like, for like what, 100, 200, whatever, $300,000, like 15 years ago. So they also like have worked up from like nothing, and like, so all that stuff is totally possible. And like, crunchy small movies, are stuff that I love. I get really inspired when I see that stuff, So yeah, also like, like the mid-budget movie doesn't exist anymore. Like the 5 to 15 million is like not really existing anymore, There's like everything, like, the economy, like there's no middle class anymore either. It's like everything's getting pushed that way. And so I'm on this end, the low one, and that's okay. I don't know what I would do with $100 million. I mean, the $100 million movies are also like, the majority of that goes to paying Leonardo DiCaprio, or whatever,
exactly, yes.
Which is cool. But like, like a movie Paul's movie last summer that we shot, that was a very small budget, I mean, it was over $1 million, but like, it wasn't big, but you make do with, you do the tax incentives. We shot in Kansas City, and you do that, and so you can make really quality movies for not a lot of money. And you look at any kind of like, even Sundance still, and like a lot of the cool movies are made for very little. I remember like last year, the movies that were big, like Sorry Baby, or like all like $1 million movies, So, where there's a will, there's a way, I think. And especially you just have to, I mean, the one thing I always say is like, go to movies in New York. Like if you live in New York, go to movie theaters, like meet people, like just meet people, and like put yourself out there, and like work for very cheap, and like make friends with people, and like you'll start to amass like a team of folks who you can kind of abuse, pay like $200 a day and shoot like your feature, And one thing I also say is like, I'm kind of at a point where like, I don't understand why people are putting $5,000 into a short. Like, I think maybe make some shorts, but like, I don't know. If you can make a short for $5,000, you can make a feature for $20,000, I think. And if you're gonna make a 20-minute short, make a 70-minute feature. You know, do that 3 times over. I don't know. And then you make a feature, and it's cool. Like, not to shit on shorts. I'm not saying that shorts are like a means to a feature, because shorts are like their own art form. But you know.
I don't know if you've seen it. I recently saw this short film. It's about 80 seconds long, and it's just this dead grandma laying on the floor, and the camera just zooms out. And while that happening, there is a voicemail goes on, and it's the her daughter going, it's like, oh, thank you so much for taking care of our kid while we're going on vacation. And the camera zooms out, and the kid is sitting right there, playing with something.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's awesome.
And it's just like, you got 80 seconds. You got one camera angle, nothing's going on, right? And just one voicemail, and it gives you so much story. You get so much emotion and like, that's brilliant.
No, I mean, I love, dude, like,
How much money do you need to shoot that?
A short that's under 3 minutes is awesome. That's that cool. It reminds me of, do you know that famous Ernest Hemingway, I think, like the shortest story ever told, which is baby shoes for sale, never worn, which like tells the whole story, so similar. But
pretty much, yes.
Yeah. But it's so cool. And like, yeah, man, I mean, there's this, I didn't see it because I wasn't in town, but there's this movie that was made for like no money by these like 18, 19-year-old kids in California that played it at the Roxy downtown, called Crocodile Dose, a feature. And I just watched the trailer, and these kids, they're like in college, made a movie for like no money. And it looks so fucking cool. And it's just like, it's kind of like more contemporary, it seems. I didn't see the movie. It seems like contemporary Superbad. Like these kids like trying to like get laid in like college, and like there's this crazy psychedelic drug called Crocodile Dose, or Crocodile or something, and like not crocodile, but like crocodile. And it looks awesome, and like, so that stuff really gets me stoked, Or like my friend Fred Da, who made a movie called Isaiah's Phone. He made a movie called Teenage Emotions also, and he just bought a bunch of iPhones. He taught at a high school, and without like the parents knowing, kind of School of Rock style, he taught all his students how to mic themselves up. And he gave all the kids iPhones, and he said basically like, here are the scenes I'd love you to try to improvise, go home and like with your friends. And these kids did these incredible, and then he made a movie called Teenage Emotions. And eventually he had to contact the parents, but they loved it. And then he made a movie called Isaiah's Phone, which is all from an iPhone, a kid talking to his iPhone, this depressed kid in high school. And the kid every day would just mic himself up and have iPhones and just do it. And so like that stuff is so cool, It's really hard, but the movies are incredible. So that stuff is really cool, and it's exciting. I was gonna say something else, but I forgot.
Before I let you go, I just wanted to ask one more thing. What does the future looks like? What's your next project? I don't know how much you can talk about it, but as much as you can.
Well, movies that I'm directing, I have 3 projects, but then I'm producing a couple too, working with Paul on some. But the ones I'm working on, well, there's like a more serious one and bigger one, much bigger than Citywide Fever, that has some really cool cast attached to it, that I hope to be shooting in July. The cast is all attached. We're still fundraising for it. It's called, I can say the name, it's called A Blade to the Skin. And that should be, hopefully that happens, and that should be very cool. That's like a script I've been writing for forever now, and it's very serious, but very good. You haven't read the script, have you?
No, not yet.
I'll send you it, yeah. And then, but because, because I'm so sure that everything is gonna collapse at any moment, like I don't believe that movie's gonna be finished until it's all on my computer on a hard drive. I'm like, okay, what can I do in the meantime while I'm like prepping for that? So I'm doing a kind of experimental documentary. I just went to Costa Rica with some whatever. I'm doing an experimental documentary that I shot with like spyware down there that will cost like no money to make, like 50 grand. That I know I can get from certain financiers because the subject matter is really enticing. So I'm doing that, and that's all shot, and I'm like working on that with an editor now. And then, similar to how Citywide Fever was shot, which was kind of like every few weekends, I started last weekend and you were there. My friend Lucy and I wrote and we're co-directing a movie called Watertight that should be really fun. It's like all the lessons I learned from Citywide, and Ethan's shooting that, and Ethan's shooting Blade to the Skin also, but all the lessons I learned from Citywide Fever, I'm applying to Watertight. So I think Watertight's gonna be like a much better version of Citywide Fever, kind of like weird, shot a lot on mini DV, but like much more, have more of a story, etc. But I have no idea. That's like, I have no schedule for that. You know, it's like, I need to, like Lucy and I self-funded that shoot the other day, but I can't keep doing that. I don't have the money. And so I need to cut all that footage together and then try to get, not a lot of money, but just to get us through post, or no, sorry, get us to post, get us through finishing the movie. So I have a bunch of stuff going on, just staying busy, you know. Anytime like I get bored of one, I can move to the other. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully one of them happens. You know, that's just the goal, that like one happens, and then you get sick of it, and then you move on to the next thing. So you're never satisfied. But yeah.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thanks, Jack. This is fun.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Happy Munkey for
Happy
letting
Munkey.
us shoot here. You
Yeah,
know?
Happy Munkey.
Yeah.
Smoke weed.
Please do.
Yeah,
so
it'll make
shooting.
a better movie. Yeah, you'll make a cooler movie if you smoke
For sure.
weed. Yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Thanks, dude. This is great.
Okay, and subscribe and like and, you know, all those things.
Do all this stuff for Jack.